Hi, it's me, Dale. I wanted to give you a quick prequel to the last vlog that I did about how 9/11 affected us and we left Cape Cod to come back home to Atlanta. This is about how we got to Cape Cod in the first place. I was working in educational multimedia in a very small city, and my wife and I went to Nantucket on our honeymoon just off the shore of Cape Cod. Basically, the whole area just won us over. Americana at its finest, old world feel. Just blew us away. We thought, well, one day when we make a lot of money we want to retire and live up here. Never thinking it would happen. Well, we went back to our little world and after our honeymoon and thought nothing more of it. And speaking of little worlds, alright, I lived with my wife in a small, actually it wasn't small, it was pretty big for a garage apartment, but it was still small. It was a 3-car garage behind a nice Tudor mansion, beautiful mansion, and we had this big sprawling apartment over the garage. Well, where that mansion sat in our garage behind it, there were 2 houses, 1, 2, and then the place that I worked. So I literally would walk past 2 houses to get to work every day, and you could probably put a football field over the area that I traveled every day. So my little world couldn't get much smaller. Yet into that little world, one day, about 6 months maybe, 7 months after our honeymoon, a guy walked into that world from educational multimedia in Cape Cod. Actually, he wasn't in multimedia, he was just an educator. He was a teacher, and he was dabbling with multimedia. But he saw what we were doing and realized, actually he came to that town because his son lived there. And he saw what we were doing with our multimedia, and he realized they had pretty much the same thing in Cape Cod where he was, but they weren't utilizing it that much. And so he was really intrigued in checking out what we were doing. I was just happy to hear somebody coming from Cape Cod to meet with us, because I couldn't wait to hear the accent. I just wanted to relive the Cape Cod experience. Well, 2.5 hours later, after he showed up and met with me, we realized we hit it off so well. He realized how much I loved Cape Cod and the experience that I had with my wife on our honeymoon. And he said, you know what? The person who's doing the job that you're doing where I work might be leaving this summer. And I was like, call me. And sure enough, about 3 months later, I almost forgot about it, let it go. He called. He said, are you still interested? I said, oh. And he said, send me your resume tape. I sent it to him. He got it on a Thursday, and he called me that Friday, the very next day, and he said, are you sitting down? And I said, yeah. He said, yesterday I was named and he gave the title of the position he had, and it was the position that would be hiring the open position that I wanted. And so basically I got the job. So this teacher, who wasn't even in a position to offer me a job that wasn't even open yet, walks into my office and meets with me. So 3 months later, all this can fall into place. Now here's a little neat side story. They flew us up to meet with everybody, do a little interview kind of thing, basically trying to sell us on the job, and took us, just pampered us. Backstory, back up a little bit. When we were on our honeymoon, we were on Nantucket, and we fell in love with this artist, and we bought a couple of small prints. These are the ones you see here on the screen now. And we couldn't afford much else, but we signed up on his mailing list. Well, about a month after I had met with the guy, before he went back to Cape Cod and all that other stuff happened, we got something in the mail from this Nantucket artist. It was him doing a 25th anniversary painting for he and his wife, and that's the painting you see on the screen now. We were like, oh my gosh. We realized that the seats, the chairs there on the beach were probably within 10 feet of where my wife and I sat and watched 4th of July fireworks over the water on our honeymoon on Cape Cod, on Nantucket. And we were like, we gotta have this painting. And so it took about every penny of the tax return money that we got back, but we ordered the full-size print on canvas. Only 100 were going to be made. I called the 800 number to order it, and the guy that answered was the artist. I told him a story about why we wanted it and how it represented our honeymoon and where we sat to watch the fireworks, and he was blown away. So it was number 5 out of 100 we got that print. Anyway, why did I bring that up? Well, on our way, when we got back from our trip to Cape Cod to be sold on this job, to be pampered, to be wowed, which we already were anyway, waiting for us when we got back on our doorstep was that painting. And it's like, we got chills. We already knew, we already accepted the job, but it's just more confirmation that that's what we needed to do. Well, that was just too amazing for us. I mean, my wife and I are Christians. We believe in God. We believe God moves in our lives. And to see him move in such a way that was so distinct, that, like I said before in this story, a guy that did not have the ability to offer me a job that didn't yet exist met with me. We hit it off. All things fell into place. We ended up leaving Cape Cod 3 years later, but without that experience, so many other things would not have happened in our life. We owned our first house. That house, when we sold it, made a lot of money in 3 years. We couldn't believe the investment that was. That was a blessing. We were able to leave the Cape debt-free. We're not debt-free anymore, but we were able to leave the Cape debt-free. And we were very blessed to have been there and to experience that. But how amazing was it that it all fell into place for that to happen. I was living in a football field-sized world, and this guy invaded my world from the exact place that he needed to come from to allow us to move to the only place we'd actually vocalized that we wanted to move to. And that's just a God story. Alright, I've talked too long, and if you've hung out this long in this video, I appreciate it. I am going to wrap it up now, and I don't know how, except to say probably a variation of my my saying that people know me by on Dale ATL2. This is Dale, and you're watching YouTube, where real people share with real people.